Hey guys, thanks everyone for joining. Today we'll be discussing about how you can build applications with Vertex AI and Sitecore. So we have been building some applications with Azure OpenAI and even OpenAI, right? But this Vertex AI is something which is new, and some of the products within OpenAI is still in the preview mode. So we could explore how we can build applications through Vertex AI and Sitecore, as well as what differentiators that Vertex AI bring to the table. I'm Subbu. I'm working as Senior Director of Technology at Altudo. I lead the Sitecore Center of Excellence and Innovation and Solutions team at Altudo. And I'm a 3 times technology MVP. And I write blogs at subbu.ca/blogs. And I've created some modules like Azure OpenAI and Teams app and few other modules, which is available in the GitHub. And I'm available in Twitter and Slack if you have any questions. Yeah. So today we'll be discussing about some of the history, like what happened over the last 2-3 years in the AI industry, and then we'll be diving deep into what is Vertex AI, why we need Vertex AI when there is Azure OpenAI and other platforms that are available, and what is RAG architecture, starting from the basics, and then diving deep into how you can build RAG applications, and then we'll go into some of the demo. And in case of the demo, like what is something which I wanted to like share is sometimes like it can take about like 10 minutes for the data to propagate. So in case if the data is not propagated successfully, and if I'm not able to do a real-time demonstration at this point, I have a recorded demo as well, which I'll be covering during this demo. And so we'll start with some of the recap. In 2022, we know GPT 3.5 was released. It had 175 billion parameters. So this parameter is something which is a combination of weights and bias, which basically determines the accuracy of how an AI can respond to a user's question. So it had 175 billion parameters, which was too huge. So that's why like whatever questions you were able to ask, it was able to respond very accurately and within a short span of time. So this 3.5 release was very successful for them, like compared to the previous releases. And they created an application called ChatGPT in 2022 around November, and it was very successful, and we were able to use all of those. And then DALL-E 2 was also released. It was able to convert the text prompts into images. And we had certain open source LLMs started booming around that time, like some of them were Bloom and a few others were coming into the picture. And we were adopting all of those things. And during the first half of 2023, ChatGPT hits 100 million users, and a lot of people started using ChatGPT, and it was able to answer like very complex questions. And later, ChatGPT plugins and API were introduced. So initially, when ChatGPT was released, it was something which we were not able to utilize in our web applications or any other applications for our need. It was able to answer any questions that we would ask. But then it was not able to be used in other applications like which we were about to build and all. But when the plugins and API concept were introduced, we were able to integrate ChatGPT, the GPT models into our applications and take benefit out of it. That was a major revolution in the first half of 2023. And ChatGPT 4 was launched. It was even more powerful with 1 trillion parameters, and the responses it gave were even more accurate. And OpenAI released the Whisper speech-to-text model as well. It was able to convert the speech into text, and had like a lot of variety of use cases which we were able to accomplish with that. And Google also released Bard and Palm 2. These were not as powerful as OpenAI at that point. It was like I think the adoption rate was only 1 or 2% compared to the OpenAI at that point. Because it was not able to answer certain questions, and there were also some controversies like which we were hearing. And Llama models were released. These are also open source models from Meta, and those were also powerful. And for certain kinds of application, we found the Llama models to be working powerful at that point. And during the second half of 2023, Gemini 1.0 was released. It was not very powerful at that point, but it was like trying to compete. It was a good attempt from Google to compete OpenAI, and it was working relatively good, but not in par with OpenAI. And the ChatGPT 4, on the other hand, it supported multimodal inputs, both text, image, and multiple different types of dimension inputs it was able to support, and it was able to respond. The GPT-4 Turbo Vision model was also released, which was supporting those. And the Llama 2 and Falcon models, these are also the open source models, which were even more powerful. Those were released. And the Azure AI Studio was also launched at that point, which supported these open source models as well. Like if you're using Azure Open AI Studio now, you can even use these open source models right now, the Llama and Falcon, and like there are like multiple other models which were created by Hugging Face and few others, which are still powerful. And with the first half of 2024, Gemini 1.5 was launched. This was a major revolution in this industry because it had 1 to 2 million token limit. The Flash model that was released, it had 1 million token limit, and the Pro model had 2 million token limit. This was the major revolution in this AI industry because all of these models, we know it was pre-trained up to a specific date alone. Like it was either till like September 2021 or October 2023. Like it was trained only till a specific date, and after which like it doesn't have those whatever has happened in the world. And when we use these RAG applications, we supply our own knowledge base on top of these models. And when we supply these knowledge base, we were limited with certain token limits like 8K or the recent OpenAI model that was released, like it has 128K token limit, like which was still lesser for certain complex operations, like where you need larger token limit. You cannot use Azure OpenAI at this point because it supports only a maximum of 128K token limit. But the Gemini 1.5, it had 1 to 2 million token limit, the two models that they have released, which makes it feasible for us to like use the Gemini for like complex operations, like where you have to supply a large context of data. And then Google also supported, also integrated this with the Google Workspace, like Gmail, like multiple other platforms within the Google. Like the Gemini was integrated, and it was very powerful for everybody to use those one. And the Vertex AI Agent Builder was also launched. This is what we will be exploring more in detail in this call today. And Google also started supporting open source models within the Vertex AI platform, similar to the Azure OpenAI Studio that you see here. It was also supporting other open source models. And the Google Search grounding was also released at that point in the first half of 2024. It kind of, so right now, like, as I said, all of these models, like it supports only the pre-trained data up to a specific date, and it doesn't support anything after that. But the Google model, the Gemini model, it has Google Search grounding, so it is able to understand like whatever is happening right now in the internet or in the real world, because it has access to the real world. It is automatically be able to do a Google search and get those results automatically. And if you have to do with Azure OpenAI, you have to use the Bing API or any other the Google API to get those results. But it is a little hard to build those complex systems by just relying on those API and building it on your own. It will take a bit of time. But this Google Search grounding, like it is able to give relatively fast answers, like in 2-3 seconds. And the GPT-4o was also released, which was which is like even more powerful. Like it had like even more higher parameters, and it was able to give us more precise response. And in the second half of 2024, the Gemini 1.5 models were released. It was even more powerful. The Flash, the second version of the Flash and Pro models were released. This is almost in par with the Azure OpenAI right now. If you try, like for certain applications, the Gemini is even more powerful than Azure OpenAI, but in certain cases like Azure OpenAI functions better. Like we are currently using both of these models in combination for certain solutions that we are working on for clients and in-house as well. And we are finding that both of them are in par, but we cannot say like one leads the other in all situations. Like only for depending on your scenario, you have to like try both the models and you have to choose which one works better for your use case. And the benefits of this Gemini 1.5 model is that it has reduced price. It's almost like 50% cheaper than the Azure OpenAI models, and it has low latency and higher rate limits as well. And also the token limit, which I mentioned, and the Google Search grounding. All of these are kind of like an innovative solution which Google has offered right now. Moving on to the to the Vertex AI. So before going into the Vertex AI, what is Vertex AI? I'll probably explain what is RAG architecture in case if you're new to this AI kind of terminologies. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, all of these LLMs, the models that you see, like they are pre-trained only till a specific date, and it doesn't have either the real-time knowledge or the knowledge of your application, like whatever your knowledge base that you have, it doesn't have those knowledge. So what we do is whatever input the user provides, on top of it, we do a search. So search plays a major role here, either Sitecore search or any other search platform like Azure AI search or any other search platform that you have, like which supports storing the embedding format. So those ones are generally recommended. So basically, when a user input comes in, we do a search to find out what are the relative articles which are available within our knowledge base, and we attach that context into along with our input, and we send it to the LLM. And the LLM generates the response. So this is basically the RAG architecture. So in layman terms, if you have ChatGPT, in ChatGPT, if you provide a paragraph and if you provide an input or instruction saying that convert this into bullet points, it does convert it into bullet points, right? And whatever you share as a paragraph is kind of, you can relate that with these search results that you see here. It's the context, whatever you have from your knowledge base, you basically put it into the ChatGPT as an additional input, and then you share the instruction of what ChatGPT has to do, and it does it, right? So that's what it is. You combine the input and the search results, and you just send it. So basically, using the model as model's natural language capability, natural language processing capabilities, and not any of the knowledge from the model. So this is called the RAG architecture. So where you use your own knowledge and just the natural language processing capability of the model, and then generate a response. And anytime when we move on, if you have any questions, please do feel free to pause, and I'm happy to explain it in detail. And okay, moving on to why we need Vertex AI. Most of the cases, Azure OpenAI is able to solve the problems that we have. It is able to we can build search applications, chat applications, all of these. But there will be situations where you will need to build something with Vertex AI. So we'll be discussing what are those cases here. The first one is improved accuracy. Vertex AI comes with a 1 million token limit, which is helpful in case if your database or if your content is not structured enough to accommodate the 128K token limit of Azure OpenAI. For example, if you have hundreds of products, and if you don't have a specific listing page which lists all of those products, and instead if it has a specific individual page for each of those products, and if a user comes in and asks the query, list all the products that you have, then basically with Azure OpenAI, you will end up supplying only 10 or 15 product details into the context, and it can only respond back with those 10 or 20 products, right? But with Gemini, you'll be able to send all of those products together, all of those product pages, detail pages together, and then it'll be able to respond to you back with all of those 100 product names, because it has 1 million token limit, which is not feasible. This is one example, but there may be there are several situations where you will need a higher token limit. But if your data or content is structured and optimized for different types of questions that the user can ask, then this might not be a need for you. The second one is the exponential knowledge. There may be situations where your chat application or search application should know what's happening in the internet or in the real world, right? So it can be weather-related data, the real-time information. So if this is something which you can also achieve with calling an API, you can call a weather API to get the weather of a specific place. But there may be situations where you may not have the weather for a location which the user is supplying in your database, right? But there may be some kind of situations where your API might not be able to respond, but the Google search might be able to respond for that specific location. So here, Google search grounding will be very powerful and helpful. So this is one example, and the publicly available information, which is, for example, changing things an interest rate or any other government provided data or something which is happening in the real world, anything that changes over time. So these are something, if your model needs to be familiar with those things to respond back to the user's query, that's when you will need the Google search grounding. And the latest news as well. If, for example, if you are building a chat application for a finance website, and if somebody has to ask a question like, what is the latest news in the industry that would impact the stock market, then your model should be able to respond back to that question. And you can control like what it can respond back and what it cannot respond back with your prompts, right? So you don't want the prompt to respond back with any other like competitor side data or anything, right? So you can control those things, and whatever sites it has to search for, if it has to search for only the government websites, like you can specify those in those queries and limit the search that it can perform within those sites alone. And the competitor website, if you want if somebody is specifying any details from the competitor website, and if you want to if your model has to validate those information, you need Google search grounding. And if like any kind of competitor analysis and give some kind of like dynamic pricing or discount or price match or any of those, like you will need the Google search grounding. And if anything like if somebody has bought a product which is outside of your website, and but it supplements the product that you have, then you have to like do a search in the other website to see if it's supported. For example, if somebody can come and ask you like, I have this specific add-on A, will this work with your product B that you have, right? So then you can do a Google search to understand what are the specifications of those, and you can respond back with an answer. With this Google search grounding, you don't have to like go through the hassle of building multiple APIs that understands different types of formats and all. Like you can just enable the Google search grounding, and it does all of those search for you. And the next one is the integrations. Google has multiple integrations with the social media channel, like Google Chat and multiple things like which. So if you have to like pass on the chat from the AI agent to the real agent, like all of these are like very much feasible, and multiple channels can be integrated as well. And the affordable pricing point, like where you can, this Gemini is kind of 50% cheaper than the GPT-4 mini model, which is the cheapest Azure OpenAI model that you have. So while it has all of these benefits, there are a few things which you have to keep in mind. The first thing is like when we work with Sitecore, most of our customers have Azure as their hosting plan. And like some of the customers might have GCP as well. So they will have a Google subscription, maybe for Google Analytics or some other products from Google as well. So if they have it, it's fine. Like you can probably look at maintaining both Azure and GCP in parallel. But if they don't have anything like in Google Cloud Platform, then this might be something which is new, and it might be an additional overhead for the IT, which you may need to consider. And the other one is the relatively high latency. For certain queries, Gemini Flash model has a higher latency for certain tasks as well. Based on my experience, like I found that like it takes about like, sometimes it takes about like 3-4 seconds. While the Azure OpenAI model, the 4 mini consistently takes only like 2.3 seconds. So it kind of varies. Sometimes the Gemini Flash model is able to respond back within 1 second as well. So between 1 to 4 is what like I've seen for my use case. So this is something maybe I think over the time they might improve on. So when coming to this RAG, like building these the AI solutions which supports building RAG, like there are 2 specific products which are available in the Google space. So the first one is the AI Studio. So here within the AI Studio, you can build and train and build your own model as well, and you can deploy it, and you can kind of like distribute it, and all of these complex tasks that you can do. You can do predictive analytics, custom workflows. You can build your own frameworks. Like there are multiple frameworks like PyTorch, like TensorFlow, a few other frameworks with which you can build your own model, own algorithm, all of these. So if you have like any of those complex needs, then you can go with the AI Studio, which is specifically for if you want to like, if you work more on data, and if you want to process data and do some predictive analytics on like what is the next best product for a customer, like recommended products, like these kind of things. similar to Fabric. So in those cases, like you might prefer AI Studio. But in most of the cases, so since we focus more on web and CMS, Agent Builder is able to satisfy whatever we are looking for. So it supports building chat applications, search engine recommendations, and any virtual assistants. And if you want like any integrations with Google Chat and all of these, right? So it has like pre-built templates and components with which you can build something pretty quickly. And anything which is like less complex, you can go with Agent Builder. So now I'll probably walk you through both of these solutions together now. So this is the Vertex AI Studio. And here you can see the model garden. It has multiple models, including the open source models, which we were discussing in the previous slide. And you'll be able to like select the model and build your applications. And it has like pipelines, workflows, and if you want to like build those frameworks, like you have those workbench, those kind of things. And then similar to the AI Studio, you have those chat, vision, translation. So these ones, if you want to experiment, you have all of these options here. Fine tuning the model is also possible here. If you, in certain cases, like you might feel that a RAG is not a solution for you, and if you want to kind of create your own customized model, then you can go for fine tuning. But most of the cases, you might be able to achieve what you're looking for with the RAG approach itself, because fine tuning is a little complex. You have to supply large amounts of data sets, and then it's kind of like the cost is also high, and you might not be able to control what it has to respond and what it cannot respond. But in case of RAG approach, like you will be able to control what input you have to give to the model, and it's something you'll have like extensive control, security. So everything is better there. But then with fine tuning, you will not have. The only situation where you will need fine tuning is if you're creating your own model, like which is something, if it has to like respond back in a specific manner, or for a specific type of task alone, if you want to perform, as an example, if you want a code to be responded for those ones, like it is. So this is something which is feasible. Just 1 second. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see my Vertex AI screen. Just once. Please stop sharing and share it again. Are you guys able to see my browser?
Yes, Subbu. That's good.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I was explaining about these ones, and here, yeah, I was speaking about the fine tuning. And if you want to build an extension, you can build using these extensions. And this is one interesting thing, the data part. If you have like when you work with like CDP or Order Cloud, you'll have like large amounts of data sets. And for example, if you take the order data set, like you'll have multiple dimensions, like the person who purchased this, what product it is, what SKU, like multiple things, right? So you can create a feature store which comprises of all of those dimensions, and you can create those data sets. And by doing these, like you will be able to tell the model that what are those different dimensions. And with this, you will be able to do certain online predictions and batch predictions, like what is the next best product for the user. So those kind of things, like pretty easily. So it's, yeah, as you can see, like it's a very complex platform, like for only recommended only if you want to like work on a complex data, build your own stuff kind of thing. And when it comes to the RAG, you need a search platform, right? So it comes with this vector search as well. And then you have this Ray. Ray is a product from the Google, like which helps you to do, if you want to do fine tuning with large amounts of data, you may need to do certain things, certain tasks in parallel. And this Ray helps us to achieve those. It kind of like creates multiple missions and train the model multiple things in parallel. So in the web world, like when working with CMS, like it's very rare that like you might need this kind of solution. So I'll move on to the Agent Builder. Okay, and give you a brief overview of what is Agent Builder, and then we can look at the architecture and we can move on to the demo. So this is the other option which Google provides. Okay. So here you can create an app where you can specify if it's a search app or chat or recommendations or agent. So these are all as the name indicates, like you. So it is used for search or chat, and then you can specify the configuration data. And it also comes with the data stores, like where this is similar to a database you can think of, like it stores the document either in the structured format or the unstructured format. And here is one example I'll show you. So I haven't indexed any data at this point, but maybe once we index, I'll probably show you how that looks like. It usually stores this in a JSON format. So here is where all of your data will go into. And these apps that we create in the previous step, it will access all of these data, and it will be able to respond to the user's query. And it has monitoring dashboards and some settings as well. So let's move on to the architecture, and then I'll come back to the demo. Okay. This is the high-level architecture if you want to integrate the agent builder that we saw, that app with Sitecore. So if you use like XM Cloud or XP, based on that, like you can choose one of these modules. I've created an SPE module as well as a Connect module, which I have included the links of those in the coming slides. So what it does is, it basically, when you publish a content, you can select which content to be indexed in the data store and all. So once you select those configurations, and when you publish the content, it basically pushes that into the data store in the JSON format, which is expected by the Google. And it also generates those embeddings automatically. So we don't have to do any other additional work here in Google to generate the embeddings. But in case of Azure OpenAI, you have to generate the embeddings using the embedding model. So meaning you'll have to pay for the model, and you have to build some logic to generate the embeddings, which is not complex. And it also supports indexing from the cloud storage. So the PDFs, the docs, PPT, anything that you have, like, can be put into the Google Cloud Storage, and it has an inbuilt integration with the cloud storage as well, with which it indexes the documents. And while indexing, it automatically chunks and creates the embeddings. But in case of Azure OpenAI, you will have to create the chunks and embeddings, but there are certain automated ways to do it as well. So it's not complex in Azure OpenAI, but basically it's inbuilt within the Google platform. And once you do this, the data store becomes the single source of truth. It has all of those data from different platforms, either Sitecore or other PDF and everything, and in the format, which is the expected format in the data store. And with this data store, we create this agent builder app. We create either the search or chat or recommendations app, and we couple that with the specific data store. We associate that with the data store. And when the user asks any query to this, the query goes to the agent builder. And if it's related to the knowledge base, we can do certain grounding, and we can get those results back and send it back to the user. And if you want to do any of the external API call, you will use an OpenAPI tool, which basically does an external search in your API, and then it responds back to the user. So you don't have to do any coding within the agent builder app itself, but then you'll have to supply the information that it requires, either from the data store or through OpenAPI. And if you want to use the Google search grounding, then you will use the OpenAPI tool itself, and you'll have to build the Azure function, the Google Cloud function. And there you'll have to make a Gemini call with the Google Search grounding, because Agent Builder app doesn't support the grounding as of now inbuilt. So you'll have to build a function app with which you have to call. You'll be calling the Gemini, and you'll be getting the response and sending back to the user. I've created all of these, and I've put this in a GitHub repository as well. I've included those links. I'll show you all of those. Okay. So now let's look at the demo. Okay, I've created an app here. You can see. So this is a chat app. In the chat app, I've created two agents. It's basically an agent app I've created. I have two agents. The first one is the info agent, And when you create an info agent, you have to put in a goal, like what it has to do, and certain instructions as well. And it has to be associated with a tool that you can see here. So here I have associated this agent with the knowledge base tool. And this knowledge base is basically a data store. You can select any of these three options. Open API. Open API is something which you can use if you want to call a REST API or something, or a cloud function, or something which is external. And if it's a data store, like which is within this platform, you can choose the data store. And function is something which you will use if you have any API which is not accessible through the Google Cloud Platform, and if it's only accessible directly from the client browser, if you want to call directly the REST API directly from the client agent's browser, like when somebody types in a query, and if you want to make a call from the browser directly to your system, then you can use a function. But otherwise, you can use Open API. And here I have selected the data store, and this data store I have created another data store called Lighthouse Financial, which I was showing in the previously. I've configured it here. And I've created another agent called Insight Agent. This basically looks at this tool called Real-Time Insights, which is basically an Open API tool. So this you can see here. It calls the Google Cloud Functions. And in the Google Cloud Functions, what I'm doing is I'm making an external call to the Gemini model with Google search grounding enabled, and it gives me back those response based on the real-time information available in the internet. Okay, these are the two agents that I've created here. And if you want to integrate with any other like chat kind of applications, like you can integrate if you want to like the agent to transfer it to the real agent, and if the real agent is using Google Chat, like all of these are like feasible and quickly achievable with this interface. And yeah, there are certain pre-built templates and some settings. So any questions, team, before I jump into this demo? Okay, sounds good. So I have created, I've spun up a demo here, demo site, the Lighthouse demo. And I'll show you the module, the SP module that we have. So this is the SP module that you can see. Like whenever somebody publishes any content, we are triggering these functions that you can see here. And I have certain settings as well. So which templates have to be indexed, and which fields within the templates have to be indexed. And then in case of Google, you have to authenticate with a service account. This is similar to role-based access control in Azure. So you have to create a service account, and then when you create the service account, it generates a certificate file, which you have to upload it into your app data folder, like which I've specified in the GitHub instructions of this module, and certain the password and these ones. So these are the data store settings that you can see here. And in case if you're using XM Cloud, I've created a recipe and a connector as well. So if somebody publishes content, so here we are querying the item, getting the details, and then we are importing it into the data store. And this is the module that I've created. So if you go to the connector SDK, yeah, this is the module. It's basically easy to create. It's built with Ruby. And here you can specify all of those, the private key, client ID, all of those details. And whenever you publish anything, you will be able to index those documents. And for this demo, let me go to this info agent. And then I'll probably... So I'll be using this specific demo page here. So this is under the Lighthouse Financial website and wealth management under these investments. Yeah, I've created this investments page. Here you can see the different retirement investment options. I'll publish. So before I publish this page, let's probably try asking this question. So while these questions, it says it doesn't have any of those details right now. So I'll just go and publish this page. So when I publish, the SPE module indexes that into the data store. And look at the published page. So this is the page. Here you can see the different investment options. This is specific to Canada. I'm not sure if you guys will be familiar. So these are the different retirement options, and it includes the estimated returns, like what it can do for them. And it's basically a finance website offering different types of investment options. And these are like different options available. And if you can see here, like there are like certain dynamic elements which depends mostly on the government decisions, right? So it can be like interest rate, like which can change frequently, and it can be like the contribution limits, like which changes annually, and the certain limits changes quarterly, like multiple things which changes very frequently, and it's hard to update the content always for that. And here we can take the advantage of the Google search crowding. And if I go back now, so since I published right now, it should be able to respond back. Let's see if the data is propagated. Okay, yeah, it is able to respond back with what options it has, and those 4 options that we saw in the previous page. And if I show you this data store, this is the data store that we are using here. And here you can see the indexed document. It uses the ID of the Sitecore item. And you can see the document. It's in the JSON format. It includes the last. So this is something which we are basically supplying. It includes a mandatory field of content, and there's additional fees like whatever we have, you could supply. And I've indexed the HTML as it is, and it is able to understand the HTML as well. And here, if you notice, I asked this question like retirement investment vehicles. It is another terminology for retirement investment options. But if you look at into this page, like we don't have anything like vehicle here. Because it has only the retirement investment options. So similar to this, like there may be like multiple terminologies for whatever we have, which won't work with the regular search that we embed in the website. So if I just retirement investment vehicle, it doesn't provide anything, right? But then if I just ask for retirement investment options, it actually provides that investments page. You can see here. Yeah, so the website search that we have today, it's primarily based on the keyword, like it is not able to answer all of these, but then the search that we build with these agent builder or any of these similar kind of apps, like it will be able to answer all of those questions. And so I'll ask a follow-up question right now. So you have within the RSP. So I've included a typo here. So instead of written, so it is still able to understand these ones similar to Azure OpenAI, and it includes like specifically like whatever the question has been asked for. And on top of this, if I ask a more specific question, which includes dynamic data, can contribute 50K per year, what options do you what options would you recommend? I'll see out of these, I'll probably pick 3. Okay, so here it asks for more details, but then it is not able to kind of realized that there is a changing factor here because it's primarily connected with the data source, and this is not connected with any other open API tool. Okay, so now if I copy this question and put this in the Insight agent, so which is powered with this Gemini AI and the Google search grounding. Yeah, I'm actually making like 2-3 calls here. I'm kind of like validating if we have the database, if the question is related to what we offer. So that's one thing which I'm validating with the data store. So that's one API call that I'm making, and the other API call like to the Gemini AI to get the real-time information on what is the annual contribution limit, and it responds back with the answers here. And here you can see there is a limit from the government here for the 2024. This is a limit for RRSP, and this is a limit for TFSA. 7,000. So it kind of like gives us some kind of direction that there are limits, and you have to like split and invest into multiple things accordingly. So yeah, this is the power of like including the Google search grounding. So it has the real-time knowledge, and it's able to provide even more accurate response. And you will still have to do some kind of prompt engineering and kind of like guide what it has to search in the internet, what it should not search, what it has to respond. Those kind of things you have to do a bit more carefully. But then if you do all of those plumbing right, you'll be getting the right answers and even more accurate and better answers. And also certain times, like you can probably think of like asking the user to do a Google search for the contributions. But when they do a Google search, that might be another competitor who will be providing an ad, and you may lose the user. Like if you ask them to do a Google search for these contribution limits, right? So it's very important to retain the users within your website. So this will help you to retain the users within the website. And here you can see those. So this is something which you here is where like you can probably like troubleshoot, like understand like what is the agent response, those kind of things. Here it includes like more of these those parameters and all. And if you want to include this in your website, you can add this with this publish agent option. So you can just like copy the script into your website, and you'll be able to like see something like this integrated directly into your website. Okay. Any questions so far, team?
So good.
Okay, sounds good. So moving back to the presentation. So yeah, this was the recorded demo that I had. But luckily, you guys are lucky, it worked. And these are the resources that we have, the GitHub repository, which includes the Sitecore PowerShell and the Sitecore Connect module code. And this is a Sitecore Connect connector. And this link is also available in the GitHub repository. And we have this is the Google Cloud Console link where you can set up and test everything. And this is the Vertex AI documentation where you can go through and learn more about in detail. Okay. So that's it for today. Yeah. Any questions, Steve?
Yeah, if it's possible, I have a question. So on your schema with high-level architecture, there is information about chunking and embeddings, and you mentioned that it is automatically done. Could you please
Yeah.
which element is responsible for this automatic work, because it looks like a huge part of work and very, very thin part in this case.
Yeah. So
hey,
when
Subbu, one moment, like, is there a bar in between? I can see like a black line. Yeah, that one, whatever you're moving. I see the screen.
Yeah, I think it might be so I have the Zoom.
Yeah, now it's gone. Yeah, it's all good, man. Thank you.
Sounds good. So in the data store, you saw the content after we indexed, like you saw the content, right? But behind the scenes, it generates the embeddings automatically, and it stores within the data store. So it doesn't like we won't be able to see the process of those embeddings, and even we won't be able to see those embeddings, but it happens behind the scenes. Okay. Similar to this, when it comes to chunking here, you will like, for example, if you have a PDF like which has let's say like 50 pages or something, so it might easily cross 1 million token limit. So you might not be able to complete all the 50 pages indexing within the 1 million token limit. So you may need to like chunk it into 2 or 3 more documents. But all of these are automatic, and it stores it as multiple documents within the data store. Like within the UI, like you cannot see anything like happening as like you cannot see those chunks or embeddings or anything, but it happens behind the scenes, and data store actually is able to understand those different chunks, connect it, and respond back to the user's query.
So this is a responsibility of this Vertex AI or
Vertex AI.
So you not define like a database, which kind of it will be, like some like algorithms for this. So everything is like a part of responsibility of Vertex AI.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks.
And everything that you see here, so within this box, except this Open API and this Gemini, like you have to do. But other than these two, everything that you see within the box are just button clicks. Like you create an app. When you create an app, you will get the Agent Builder app created. And in the next step, it will ask you to associate with the data store, and you will associate with the data store. And when you create the data store, it will ask you if you want to like create a cloud storage and put in your documents. And you can select these ones in button clicks.
That's clear. Thank you.
And can the data store directly crawl a website too, or it's not feasible?
It's an option.
Yeah, you can. Okay.
Yeah.
And cost-wise, how are you seeing that, Subbu? Most of the times, the crawling part is the one more expensive to feed the data, and like, how do you see that?
Yeah, so it's in general, this Gemini is 50% cheaper than the Azure OpenAI. And here, from the costing perspective, I don't think they have anything for specifically for crawling here in the Gemini AI. And the cost will be for the Agent Builder app. In case of Azure OpenAI, you will be creating your own Azure app service, and you will be paying for that app service for the chat app. But here you don't have to create that. You don't have to create any app service or any other app for it, and but you will be paying for this Agent Builder app separately, and any other Gemini calls that you will make for that you will be paying.
Okay.
Yeah. But overall, it is even with like combining both of these together, it is cheaper than the OpenAI right
now. Okay, got it. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, I think it's all Subbu. Thank you for taking your time today and joining us.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
everyone for joining us. We'll see you again in the next meetup. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.